Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Scientific Forum 2024 in commemoration of the 159th National and 74th World Meteorological Day. I am Joanne Mayadilino.
And I'm Jeremiah Morales,
your Masters of Ceremony for this morning. So the focus of this scientific forum is to illuminate PAGASA's proactive measures in addressing climate variability and trends through a wide range of initiatives, such as collaborations across government and private sectors, communities, and individuals. This is also to further recognize the collective effort to create a more sustainable and resilient future in the face of climate challenges.
So this forum is divided into two parts. The first part will focus on enhancing local climate services and community-based climate resilience initiatives, while the second part will be about the science-based local development planning, climate-smart agriculture for food security, and water stewardship.
Once again, a great morning to all our participants here at the venue and also to those who are joining us via Zoom. We are also being live streamed on the Facebook and YouTube channels of DOST-PAGASA. So your presence here is invaluable as we strive to create a more resilient and sustainable future for generations to come. And now, to start the program, may we ask everyone to please stand and compose yourselves as we prepare for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, to be followed by the invocation.
Let us bow our heads and put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering all of us today. We thank you for the gift of life and strength that you have provided us all to be part of this endeavor. We seek your forgiveness for our wrongdoings, as we have forgiven those who have done us wrong. May you bestow your guidance and blessings so that we can enjoy and appreciate its significance in our lives. Bless everyone who is present here today. May each one of us be able to share our knowledge, understanding, and wisdom for your glory and honor. May the various activities related to this event be a success through your intervention. All these we ask through your name. Amen.
Noon pa man, malaki na ang naging bahagi ng mga kababaihan sa lipunang Pilipino. Kaisa sila sa marubdob na paghahangad ng kalayaan ng ating lahi. Kabilang sila sa paglinang ng ating makulay na sining at mayamang kultura. Kasapi sila sa pagtataguyod ng mga adhikain ng kapwa mamamayan at sa pagtugon sa mga pangangailangan ng lipunan. Katuwang sila sa pagtuklas sa mga larangan ng agham at medisina. Kapanalig sila sa pagpapairal ng batas, karapatan at katarungan para sa lahat. Kabahagi sila sa paglilingkod sa bayan at sa pagpapanatili ng demokrasyang Pilipino. Sa paglipas ng panahon, hindi nagmaliw ang kanilang pag-ibig sa ating inang bayan. Mga kababayan, ito ang alay ng mga kababaihang Pilipino para sa bayan. Tumayo po tayong lahat at sabay-sabay nating awitin ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dilim mo'y buhay. Lumang hihirang, tulad ka ng mag-ibig, sa manlulukin, di ka masisingin. Sa lahat ng tulog, sa singer at sa lalim mong babang, maging ang tula at awit sa tunay ang minamahal. Ang isang ng patawad mo'y talumpay na nagniligid, ang inuwing na araw ng kailan pa may madilig. Lumalang araw ng 100% buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang bigaya ng pagkay makahangit, ang mga ay ang dahil sa'yo.
Thank you very much. You may now take your seats, and to formally open our program and give the welcome remarks, let us all welcome Dr. Nathaniel T. Servando, the Administrator of DOST-PAGASA.
Good morning, everyone. I extend my warmest welcome to each of you as we convene for the Scientific Forum in celebration of the 159th National Meteorological Day. And at the same time, we join all national meteorological offices worldwide in the celebration of the 74th World Meteorological Day. Today, we gather under the resonant theme at the frontline of climate action, which encapsulates the pivotal role of meteorology in addressing the pressing challenges posed by climate change. As we embark on this occasion, we are reminded of the indispensable contributions of meteorological science in understanding, predicting, and mitigating the impacts of climate variability and change. The theme serves as a compelling call to action, emphasizing our collective responsibility and agency in confronting the environmental challenges that threaten our planet's sustainability. Throughout history, meteorologists and scientists have been at the forefront of innovation, pioneering advances in observation, modeling, and forecasting techniques. Yet, as we stand in the nexus of a scientific inquiry and societal need, we are confronted with an urgent imperative to translate knowledge into actionable solutions. Today's scientific forum represents a unique opportunity for interdisciplinary dialogue and collaboration as we delve into the latest research findings, technological innovations, and policy implications related to climate action. It serves as a platform for exchanging ideas, sharing best practices, and charting a course towards a more resilient and sustainable future. As we engage in robust discussions and deliberations over the course of this forum, let us remain mindful of the profound implications of our work. Let us harness the power of science, innovation, and collective action to address the complex challenges posed by climate change and safeguard the well-being of present and future generations. In closing, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all participants for their contributions to this important activity, particularly our resource speakers and guest participants. May our deliberations be fruitful, our collaborations enhanced, and our commitment unwavering as we strive to remain steadfast at the front line of climate action. Marami pong salamat sa ating lahat.
Thank you, Doc Nats, for giving us the background and objectives of this event. Now, let us hear a pre-recorded message for the celebration of the World Meteorological Day 2024 from the Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization, Professor Celeste Saulo.
Happy World Meteorological Day. As you know, this is my first celebration of World Meteorological Day as Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization. Previously, I also celebrated this day at the Argentinian Meteorological Service because it is a unique opportunity to increase awareness of who we are, what we do, and why we do it. National Meteorological and Hydrological Services, WMO members, are key players in our fight against climate change. Indeed, the WMO community provides tools and knowledge on both climate change mitigation and adaptation. It is therefore fitting that the theme of this year World Meteorological Day is on the front line of climate action. Climate action means different things to different people, but all agree that it is indispensable and it is urgent and it is a call for everybody. We must all pull in the same direction. Our meteorological and hydrological communities gather, disseminate, and analyze weather, water, and environmental data. These are the basis for understanding what is happening with climate now and how it has been changing. We cannot manage what we do not measure, and this is where the WMO is ideally placed. We have a proud history of more than 150 years of sharing data and best practices. That is our strength. We are building on that strength to provide information to support mitigation. For this reason, we launched the WMO Global Greenhouse Gas Watch. We need more measurements to support decision-making and climate action. But mitigation is not enough. Adaptation is a must. For many, this is a matter of life and death. As a matter of priority, hydrometeorological services around the world are engaged in improving their early warning systems, which are the linchpin of adaptation and disaster risk reduction. However, as of today, many countries are not able to provide these early warnings to protect their people. This is why, as part of the global community, we embarked on the Early Warnings for All initiative. Every person on Earth needs to have access to timely, authoritative, and life-saving weather and climate risk information by the end of 2027. Climate and weather affects nearly every single activity. For instance, renewable energy systems, including wind, solar, and hydropower, agricultural production, fisheries, transportation, health. Weather and climate information fuels economic growth. We need to do more to turn climate science into services. And we need to make these climate services more accessible and to use them more efficiently. On World Meteorological Day, national meteorological and hydrological services take center stage. They are pivotal for risk reduction, development, adaptation, mitigation, and sustainability. We must ensure that their expertise fits into high-level policy on climate action. As WMO Secretary General, I am committed to working together with each NMHS to make sure that this value cycle is impactful at national, regional, and global levels. This is about fostering inclusivity and sustainable pathways. In the face of unprecedented environmental challenges, we are not mere observers. Rather, we are called to be game changers. Our role as scientists and advocates for the planet has never been more crucial. The lives of future generations are in our hands. Our efforts today will ensure a safer, healthier world for future generations, a world where children thrive in harmony with nature. Together, we stand at the front line of climate action as we leverage our collective expertise for the greater good and shape a resilient tomorrow. Thank you and happy World Meteorological Day.
All right, so thank you very much to Professor Celeste Saulo. Let's hear another live message from the Director of the World Meteorological Organization, Regional Office for Asia and the Southwest Pacific, Mr. Ben Churchill.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you all. Dr. Nathaniel T. Savando, Administrator of the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, PAGASA, and also the Permanent Representative of the Philippines with WMO, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the World Meteorological Organization, I wish to convey my warmest greetings and congratulations to PAGASA on the occasion of the Science Forum, celebrating the 159th Philippine National Meteorological Day in conjunction with the 74th World Meteorological Day. Every 23rd of March, WMO commemorates the coming into force of the convention establishing WMO on the 23rd of March, 1950. It showcases the essential contribution of national meteorological and hydrological services to the safety and well-being of society, and is celebrated with activities all around the world. The themes chosen for World Meteorological Day reflect topical weather, climate, or water-related issues. As we heard from the Secretary-General, the theme for World Meteorological Day 2024 is at the front line of climate action. Climate change is a real and undeniable threat to our entire civilization. The effects are already visible and will be catastrophic unless we act now. WMO released the State of the Global Climate 2023 report just this week. The report shows that records were once again broken and in some cases smashed for greenhouse gas levels, surface temperatures, ocean heat and acidification, sea level rise, Antarctic sea ice cover and glacier retreat. Heat waves, floods, droughts, wildfires, and rapidly intensifying tropical cyclones caused misery and mayhem, upending everyday life for millions and inflicting many billions of dollars in economic losses. The report also confirmed that 2023 was the warmest year on record, with the global average near-surface temperature at 1.45 degrees Celsius, with a margin of uncertainty of plus or minus 0.12 degrees Celsius, above the pre-industrial baseline. It was the warmest 10-year period on record. Sustainable Development Goal 13 commits all of us to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Progress in this goal underpins progress in all the other Sustainable Development Goals. The work of the WMO community is indispensable to climate action and the Sustainable Development Goals across the board. In this regard, WMO is making a significant contribution as a co-leader and pillar partner of the Early Warnings for All initiative, adding value to the early warning system value chain through observing, modelling and forecasting weather, climate and water to produce timely and accurate information and warnings at all time scales. The aim is to have early warnings available to everyone on the planet by the end of 2027. This work is of huge societal importance, reducing hunger and poverty, improving health and well-being, ensuring clean water and affordable and clean energy, protecting life below the water and life on land, and making our cities and communities more resilient to climate change. Weather and climate predictions help boost food production and move closer to zero hunger. Integrating epidemiology and climate information helps understand and manage diseases sensitive to climate, and early warning systems help reduce poverty by allowing people to prepare and limit the impact of extreme weather. WMO, its members and its partners drive the full value cycle from science to services to action for the benefit of society. It advances knowledge of our Earth system, monitors the state of the climate and water resources, provides scientific information to inform greenhouse gas emission reductions, and deliver climate services and early warnings to support climate adaptation. The WMO community will remain at the front line of climate action as we embrace a journey of cooperation, and innovation leveraging collective expertise to overcome challenges and achieve our shared vision of a safer, more resilient world for current and future generations. As an Asia-Pacific country situated in a highly disaster-prone area, the Philippines has been frequented by typhoons alongside other weather systems affecting the region. Apart from this, the El Niño Southern Oscillation, a slower setting but more significant driver of climate variability, also affects the country time and time again. This in turn causes droughts or excessive rainfall, leading to water scarcity or massive flooding, putting the people and the economy always at risk. PAGASA has a long and distinguished history of providing vital weather, climate and hydrological services to the Philippines, and I'm pleased to acknowledge PAGASA's proactive measures in addressing climate variability and trends through a wide range of initiatives, such as collaborations across government and private sectors, communities and individuals. This is also to recognise further the collective effort to create a more sustainable and resilient future in the face of climate challenges. In conclusion, I wish PAGASA a prosperous future and look forward to its greater contribution to serving the country and also sharing its experience and knowledge with the region and the rest of the world to enhance our collective efforts at the front line of climate action. With these words, I thank you very much for having me here today at your event, and I thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that warm message, Mr. Churchill, and we hope to see you again on our next fora. Now let us listen to the keynote message from the Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology, Dr. Renato U. Solidum, Jr.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to address you today. First and foremost, I would like to extend my gratitude to Dr. Nathaniel T. Servando, the DOST-PAGASA Administrator, for his continuous leadership in the spearheading of this World Meteorological Day and National Meteorological Day celebration, particularly this scientific forum. To the organizers of this event, friends and colleagues from various agencies and organizations, and to all our viewers joining us on our social media platforms, isang makaangham na umaga po sa inyong lahat. As Filipinos, we are acutely aware of the repercussions of a changing climate, given our nation's unique geographical location and topography, which render us highly susceptible to extreme weather and climate events and their aftermaths. From devastating typhoons to prolonged droughts.
Recording stopped.
Okay, so apologies for that. I think we can proceed with the next. Apologies. We're having some technical difficulties, but before we proceed with our next presentation, I would like first to acknowledge the presence of our key officials from PAGASA. And of course, we are joined by other sectors and various agencies in this forum. We have participants from the NGCP, the DPWH, the FAO, QC, DRRMO, the Manila, DRRMO, the PDRF, UPMSI, PCA, the Makati DRRMO, the Makati DES Planning, DOH Calabarzon, DTI, BOI, ABS-CBN, Aldis Incorporated, and the Solinas Corporation. Sabi?
whether through the adoption of renewable energy sources, the implementation of sustainable land use practices, or advocacy for policy reforms. These endeavors are pivotal in the fight against climate change. Our colleagues at DOST-PAGASA, with their expertise in weather and climate forecasting, numerical modeling and risk assessment, furnish decision makers with crucial information to prepare for and respond to the impacts of extreme weather and climate events. Our collaborative efforts with other agencies and organizations bolster our resilience in the face of climate variability. The magnitude of the climate crisis before us necessitates a coordinated and inclusive approach to ensure comprehensive support for all, particularly vulnerable communities. We must not only strive to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions, but also adapt to and mitigate the impacts of climate change already underway. Climate action demands collaboration across sectors and disciplines, underpinned by a commitment to equity and justice in addressing the climate challenges confronting us. Today, we will hear very interesting initiatives on enhancing local climate services and community-based climate resilience, as well as science-based local development planning, climate-smart agriculture for food security, and water stewardship. Let us use this opportunity to learn from one another, engage in meaningful dialogue, forge partnerships, and hope that this scientific forum will start another step forward to combat the climate crisis, another step towards our transformation from victims to victors of disasters. Thank you, and once again, good morning.
All right, so thank you very much, Dr. Solidum. Okay, so let us now proceed to the first session of our program. To facilitate the first session, may we call on Ms. Lauren Joy Estribillo and her rapporteur, Ms. Kimberly Ann Aquino, to moderate the session.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our PAGASA officials, our colleagues here, and to our guests who are attending here at the Amihan Conference Room. So, our forum will start with a session with presentations on enhancing local climate services and community-based climate resilience initiatives. Before I introduce the speakers for this session, I would just like to remind everyone that we will have an open forum or a Q&A session after all the presentations in the first session. So, to start with this, to give us a presentation on the DOST-PAGASA Climate Services in achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal 13, we have the Senior Weather Specialist and Officer in charge of the Climate Monitoring and Prediction section of the Climatology and Agrimeteorology Division of the DOST-PAGASA. We have Ms. Rusi G. Abastillas. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. So I will be the first speaker this morning. Okay, so my topic is on the DOST-PAGASA's climate services in the achievement of SDG 13. DOST-PAGASA, as a provider of climate information, has a critical role in assisting the nation to implement the 2030 agenda and the SDGs. The 2030 agenda's ambition is to leave no one behind, should also be seen as a commitment to a climate-smart development narrative which places emphasis on inclusive stewardship of climate information services, particularly among the most vulnerable and marginalized group. As highlighted in the table, most of the 17 SDG success can be directly linked to accessible and accurate climate information services. As the World Meteorological articulates, there is a risk based to the achievement of most of the goals and therefore access to high quality, fit for purpose climate information. Okay. So SDG 13, as what have mentioned earlier, the goal is to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. So in this SDG 13, everyone has a role in climate action, even in our own little way. This is more on the mitigation for reducing emissions and enhancing the sink. Even in our small little way at home, we can save energy at home, for example, by putting off or switching off the lights when not in use, or simply if you can walk or bike or take public transportation to minimize the use of fossil fuels whenever possible, and then by simply eating more vegetables to reduce the emissions of methane, because as we all know, our livestock also emits methane. And the use of eco-friendly products, and also by simply spreading awareness through this, what we are having now, the spreading of or the information education campaign to spread awareness to everyone, and then being the role model also as part of the PAGASA, the DOST-PAGASA, I mean. So another DOST, the three main roles of PAGASA. DOST is a co-custodian of climate action in the Philippines. As the mandated agency to provide early warning systems for extreme weather events, which could improve preparedness of people to respond to the effects of these events, as well as to help increase their resilience to climate-related hazards. And for this, we have three roles as co-custodian of climate action. First is to provide early warning systems for extreme weather events such as tropical cyclones, and our early warning for tropical cyclone, like the one we have if we have typhoons or tropical cyclones. Then by improving preparedness of people to respond to the effects of these events by our which could improve preparedness of people to respond to the effects of these events, as well as to help increase their resilience to climate-related hazards. And also, by providing early warning systems for extreme events, DOST-PAGASA establishes networks of observing stations and early warning infrastructures and equipment to protect lives, livelihoods, and properties through timely, accurate, and reliable weather-related information and services. And as we can see here in this image, we have a network of observation stations all over the country. We have radars, and also we have river basins, and also we have 3 divisions for PAGASA for weather, for flood forecasting and warning system, and also we have different synoptic and aggregate stations spread all over the country. And also, we have ENSO alert and warning system for slow onset disasters. And also we have early warning such as the rainfall warning and the tropical and the heavy rainfall warning and the thunderstorm warning system. And then also for slow onset disasters such as El Nino and La Nina and droughts, we have also the ENSO alert and warning system, which we use if whenever there are extreme events that we had today. And then also we are transforming from what the weather will be to what the weather will do by by shifting to impact-based forecasting or IBF. And to help to increase the resilience to climate-related hazards, we have this framework. To this framework, we have sets of data, and also through our inclusive information, we have collaborative efforts for our LGUs as well as our NGOs and INGOs to come up with an understanding of a local climate and identify vulnerabilities and risks and impacts. And then we have formulate the adaptation options for this localized to the community. And for the Climate Information Service to support the decision making, this involves the timely production, the translation, and delivery of useful climate data, information, and knowledge for societal decision-making and climate-smart policy and planning, and this is one of the frontline services of the DOST-PAGASA. That is the second role, which is to provide decision-makers with the scientific facts and analysis that they need to adapt to climate change impacts and build climate resilience. Through forecasts, warnings, advisories, and also we have tools developed in order to understand the use of climate information services in decision-making and planning, as well as involve the user engagement. So this is the climate information is one of the elements in the decision-making matrix with PAGASA's network of observing stations according to WMO standards. We could provide high-quality historical data that could be used across timescales of decision-making, planning, and assessment. And climate information has value only when it is applied in decision and in decision-making process and used in the decision-making process. And also, climate services refer to the delivery of climate information and predictions from the scientific sources to stakeholders and end users in the way that assists in decision-making. And also, the provision of services requires a wide range of inputs, high-quality data, as well as vulnerability analysis, risk assessments, and long-term projections and scenarios, which we later itatakil nito ni Dr. Marsa next talk. And these are the forecasts and warnings and advisories across timescales. So we have different warnings and forecasts for specific purpose and decision making for our decision makers. So we have this different advisories, which for warnings, we have different advisories for tropical cyclones, for example. We have tropical cyclone advisories, alerts and warning for weather, and for short time scales, And then we have weather forecasts we have the daily weather forecast, regional weather forecast, as well as farm weather advisory forecast and advisory. And also we have 10 days, the weather forecast for agri-weather information that we have in our information. And then for the seasonal, in terms of 2 weeks to 1 month, as well as 2 to 6 months, we have these products such as the sub-seasonal to seasonal or the S2S forecast. We have the TC threat potential forecast. We have also the monthly climate assessment and outlook advisories. And if we have ENSO or El Nino and La Nina, we have the El Nino and La Nina advisories. We have the monthly climate agroclimatic review and outlook, and as well as other climate monitoring products. And for seasonal, we have the seasonal climate assessment and outlook on advisories and other monthly regional and for the different parameters. And for advisories for and warnings and impact assessments, and also for El Nino and La Nina advisories and drought and dry spell assessment and outlook. We have the ENSO alert and warning system that we used, and the impact assessment for agriculture. And for long-term projections for strategic planning, we have the climate projections for the Philippines, which will be tackled later. And these are the tools. Aside from the regular products and services that we provide, these are some of the tools developed in order to understand how climate information could be of use in their decision making and planning. So we have the forecast for the heat index, the ENSO simplified communication tool, and then we have this for managing risk and uncertainties. We have the MARITIS, which is like a game that is the acronym for managing risk and uncertainties. Yeah. And then to explain the uncertainty in the probabilistic forecast. And then also we have the answer response matrix for El Nino and La Nina response. And then we have the CLIRAM and the CERAM, which is for more on the climate projections. CLIRAM stands for Climate Information Risk Analysis Matrix, and CERAM stands for Climate Extremes Risk Analysis Matrix. And also we have the Climate Toolkit, which is for climate monitoring tool, and then the PAGASA mobile app for climate information, climatological information. And another tool to develop in integrating the climate information into decision making and planning. So we have these are our issuances, the heat index, which is updated daily. And then we have the ENSO alert, which is if we have an El Nino or La Nina are inactive, we have that monitoring system. And then as what I have shown earlier in the previous slide, the MARITIS, which is that is a game tool for understanding forecast uncertainties and demonstrate how to create decisions based on different seasonal forecast uncertainties based on probabilistic forecast. And then the PAGASA mobile app for climate information. And then also the projections, which later on will be provided. So climate information is not a climate service. To create a climate service, which by definition has to respond to a climate need or the user engagement. So PAGASA continues to collaborate with various local government units, international and local government organizations, and the academe and build mechanism for an innovative disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation for agriculture. For instance, to improve the value of information flows between PAGASA and key decision makers involved in managing climate and weather risk of smallholder farmers. PAGASA joined the ASHAR, that is from Australia, ASHAR-funded project, which is called the Action Ready Climate Knowledge to improve disaster risk management for smallholder farmers in the Philippines, with the academe, the UP Los Baños, the Department of Agriculture, and the socio-economic planners. It used applied socio-economics to understand the decision-making context, like using the verbal decision analysis and rapid climate decision analysis, established the potential value of information and research ways to improve communication and use. The project produced the Klima Agrikultura module and better appreciation by PAGASA and farmers' information requirements for their climate-sensitive decisions. So also we have the climate calendar was also produced for pilot areas to guide farmers on the weather risks that they may encounter during their cropping season, from land preparation to harvesting. And also to produce client-tailored climate services. The development of climate services involves a lengthy period of meetings, workshops, and iterative dialogue to understand and address the client needs, and testing and refinement of the product based on client feedback. So these are the examples of the products that we produce through our user engagement, through the LGUs, and also through a project from HR. And also for our collaboration with the Rice Watch and Action Network for their Climate Resiliency Field School, or CRFS. And the production of the Seasonal Climate Outlook and Advisory, or CLEA, that is for the ARFO Region 5. And being a member of WMO, DOST-PAGASA is promoting international action and cooperation on climate change by establishing regional climate centers and regional climate outlook forums. So, through the ASEAN COF, or the ASEAN COF, which is a climate forum, a regional climate outlook forum, that is an avenue to collaboratively develop consensus-based seasonal climate outlooks and related information on a regional scale. The forum's outlook and its activities contribute significantly to one of the key roles of ASEAN specialist, the ASMC, which is to conduct climate and seasonal prediction for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations region through pooling the expertise of ASEAN National Meteorological and Hydrological Services, or the NMHS. So the ASEAN COF is composed of 10 countries that was established in 2013, and the target season is during the June, July, August, which is for the southwest monsoon season, or the summer monsoon season, and before the December, January, February, or the winter monsoon, or the northeast monsoon season. It is held twice a year, and first is through online and physical, so physical and online. But since we have the pandemic, we conduct it online, and we are part of the ASEAN Working Group, Miss Anna and I, with Miss Thea Turkington. So the last one we had held the 21st session of the ASEAN Climate Outlook Forum, which also participated by many, especially if it is a hybrid one, which is participated by from PAGASA and other NMHS all over the ASEAN. And also, we are maintaining the climate monitoring node for PAGASA, which is pending pa yung designation. So we have different products that we cater to for the ASEAN, and also we issue the Climate Watch Bulletin if there is, depending on the rainfall, we assess, and we assess all the countries over ASEAN, and then we issue the Climate Watch Bulletin if there is like a deficit in rainfall or surplus in rainfall. So for this, the key takeaways, climate information services are central to achieving the success of Sustainable Development Goals, and the demand for climate information services will continue to grow in the years ahead. And CIS in the Philippines is getting better because of our improved climate information and services. And then CIS requires feedback and engagement mechanisms and forums that will enable providers and users, especially the socially excluded and marginalized groups, that is inclusive of climate information, to work together in co-designing and co-generating climate information products and dissemination channels. And more effort is needed to understand the climate information user needs and decision-making processes in different contexts towards coming up with high-quality, accessible, and accurate climate information services. So it is hoped that PAGASA's climate information is of service to the Filipino people. And with that, maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Rusi, for giving us the first presentation. But before we proceed po to our next, Let us first award the Certificate of Appreciation to Mr. Ben Churchill, one of our resource speakers. And to read the citation, let us all welcome Ms. Araceli S. Arroyo, the Officer in Charge of the Office of the Deputy Administrator, Administration and Engineering Services.
Good morning. It is my honor to read the Certificate of Appreciation. Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is presented to Mr. Ben Churchill, Director, World Meteorological Organization, Regional Office for Asia, Southwest Pacific. In sincere appreciation and grateful recognition of his invaluable and unselfish support by sharing his time as keynote speaker during the conduct of Scientific Forum in conjunction with the 159th National and 74th World Meteorological Day with the theme At the Frontline of Climate Action. Given this 22nd day of March 2024 at the Amihan Conference Room, PAGASA Central Office, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago Avenue, Barangay Central, Quezon City, Philippines, by Nathaniel T. Servando, PhD, Administrator, PAGASA, Permanent Representative of the Philippines with WMO.
Thank you very much, ma'am. The original certificate po is signed. No? This is just the template. Okay, so we can now proceed with the next presentation.
Our next presenter is the Chief of the Impact Assessment and Application Section of the CAD, DOST-PAGASA. He will be presenting the CMIP-6-based climate change projection in the Philippines. Let us all welcome Dr. Marcelino Q. Villafuerte II.
Hi, good morning everyone. Thank you very much, Ms. LJ, and to our respected officers of PAGASA. Good morning po. And of course, to our stakeholders, especially kay Sir Gerald ng Salinas. Good morning, sir. Long time no see. Thank you for attending our scientific forum. Okay. Is it already shared? Hindi nag-work. Ay, ito na lang ba? Dito na lang ako mag-next ng kanila.
Pwede si Jan na lang po.
Hindi nag-work, Carlo. Diyan na. Ay, hindi. Okay. Apologies for that. I think now it's already working. So today I am tasked to discuss our recently developed CMIP-6-based climate change projections in the Philippines. So CMIP-6 stands for the Climate Model Intercomparison Project, Phase 6. And it's actually the updated version of our previously released climate change projections. And it actually covers various scenarios of possible future condition of the globe, no? And those are based on SSPs, which later I will share. Oops. Yeah, but before that, allow me to mention some of the PAGASA's mandates, no? Particularly because I would like to highlight why we are releasing such kind of information. So PAGASA's mandate based on RA 10692 is actually based on, or has the following mandates indicated here. And that actually mentions climate change information, right? Climate change adaptation and many other things. And aside from that, in Republic Act number 10174, of course, our colleague from Climate Change Commission is here, and definitely he's very much familiar with that. No? In Section 10 of RA 10174, Section 10, specifically Item H, the Department of Science and Technology, of course, through PAGASA, indicated here that we are tasked to provide projections and analysis of future climate scenarios. So that's why we are providing this kind of information as early as way back in 2011. Okay, so in 2011, we initially released the first version of our climate projections, titled Climate Change in the Philippines. And then in 2014 to 2017, we developed again and improved climate information using the CLIRAM tool, and released in 2018 the updated climate projections based on the RCPs, or representative concentration pathways. And then after that, in 2021, we released another report focusing more on extremes. And then just late 2023 up to this quarter of 2024, we developed a method on wherein we try to develop high-resolution climate data, including historical and as well as projections. And for the projections, it's more on SSP, or shared socioeconomic pathways. So shared socioeconomic pathways is actually the SSPs examining how the global society might probably change, no, based on demographics and economics in the next in the next few decades. So if we are going to look at that, maybe, yeah. So based on this figure, we can see that SSP5 actually is a kind of a fossil fuel development or intensive, no? So that's why the mitigation effort is just very low. That means the global temperature would rise to about that level, close to 4.5 degrees Celsius. Okay. And the CMIP6 actually are, as I mentioned earlier, coupled model intercomparison projects. They are several atmosphere, ocean, general circulation models that are representing different processes in the climate system, no, in order for us to at least see what will happen in the future if, for instance, we alter or we change the concentration of greenhouse gases in particular. So it actually represents several processes, including ocean, biosphere, atmosphere, and so on. So several processes are included there. And in the CMIP6, there are actually several models that are included. So listed here are those models, about 33 of them. No? So there are several models. Several countries are also contributing to those different kind of experiments. Yeah. So I think for Asia, South Korea, Japan, and China are, including actually Taiwan, is actually contributing to such kind of model simulations. Okay. So in order for us to come up with our localized version of those projections that are released by several global producing centers, we initially developed a high-resolution climate data which combines station data with satellite data there, and then come up with a merge or bias-corrected satellite data with the use of station data, and come up with the high-resolution daily rainfall as well as temperature data sets across the Philippines. And we call that CleanGrid PH. That's a recently concluded project supported by the Department of Science and Technology. And then the next step is to utilize the global climate models that I have shown earlier, combine that with historical and as well as with the future projections of them, and then regrid them to the nearest neighbor method, or using the nearest neighbor method to the grids of the high-resolution CleanGrid PH dataset. And then after that, we obtain the possible future rainfall values based on, for rainfall, we use multiplicative shift, and then for temperature, we use additive shift. So the delta X here correspond to the changes that are obtained from the model simulations, and then we combine that with the observations, and then finally come up with the projected changes. In this case, because as I mentioned earlier, there are several models, about 33 models, and definitely they are giving different results, particularly for rainfall. And so we try to measure the uncertainty of those projections and look at lower bound, median, as well as upper bound of our projections. How will that perhaps change in the future? For example, in rainfall here, for 2021 to 2050, there are about 25% of the models are saying drier conditions, but at least half of the models are saying more of the wetter conditions in many areas here, but by only about 5 to 10%. And then about 25% of the remaining models are indicating a wetter condition by 2021 to 2050. So that's why for rainfall, we do provide this kind of information. So it's a range of possible changes in the future. Okay. But before continuing to the projections, perhaps it's important for us to at least also determine what happened in the past. So based on the CleanGrid PH dataset, we are seeing here from 1991 to 2020, we're seeing a trend of about 0.02 degrees Celsius per year, or about 0.6 degrees Celsius in the past 30 years already. And there are areas actually that we can see higher warming, particularly in Mindanao, and some areas as well in Western Luzon. And then, if we also looked at the monthly mean temperature from 1991 to 2020, we can see that most of Mindanao experienced a warming trend of about 0.4 degrees Celsius per decade in almost all months. So sila yung nakaka-experience ng warming. From January to December, actually, we can see from these figures. And then the highest rate of warming is actually observed during the months of November and December. If we can look at this figure here. Oops, it's not working. Yeah, and that's about 0.4 degrees Celsius per decade to about 0.8 or even exceeding 0.8 degrees Celsius per decade. Okay, and with that, we can now probably look at the historical simulations of the models. Shown here are actually the model simulations during the historical time period. And then here, it shows the observed, the thick black lines. And then the projections for different shared socioeconomic pathways are shown with different colors here, extending up to 2100. And based on these figures, we can clearly see that the annual mean surface earth temperature in the Philippines at all future time periods agree to have a warmer climate towards the end of 21st century. That's about 4.4 degrees Celsius increase relative to the 1981 to 2010 baseline climate. Particularly if we look at the most intensive emissions of greenhouse gases, itong SSP 8.5. And then the sustainability pathways, on the other hand, SSP 1.9, itong nasa pinakababa. And then SSP 2.6 suggests an increase of about just 0.5 degrees Celsius to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the 21st century. And then scenarios with continuous and drastic greenhouse gases, particularly itong SSP 3.7.0 and SSP 5.8.5, will have a projected temperature range of ranging from 2.6 degrees Celsius to 4.4 degrees Celsius by the end of this century. Okay. And then if we look at the monthly temperatures projections from extending to 2021 to 2050 relative to 1981 to 2010, we can see several areas with red colors. And red colors indicate here warmer future. No, by 2021 to 2050, we are expecting about 0.8 degrees Celsius in all months by 2021 to 2050, relative to the 1981 to 2010 baseline climate. And then also notable are some parts of northern Luzon as well as in central Mindanao, particularly shown here. Oops. As well as in mountainous regions, no? Particularly in Cordillera Administrative Region, in Bukidnon Province, Davao Region, and Cotabato. The projected temperature increase might even reach greater than or equal to 1 degree Celsius, particularly in April, May, and June. Ito pa naman yung mga maiinit na months, no? April, May, and then even in September. And that could be about by 2021 to 2050. Ayan. And now, let's also look at the observed trends in annual rainfall. Here we are using 2001 to 2020 time period based on the ClimGrid PH dataset. So brown colors here indicate a drier or drying trend during the past 20 years, while green colors indicate a wetting trend or increasing trend. So what we can see here is that in many areas in Luzon, we can see increasing trend in our annual rainfall. But in most of Mindanao, we can see here decreasing trend, as well as in the western section of Luzon. We can see some brown colors there indicating decreasing trend in annual rainfall. And then if we looked at the monthly rainfall from 2001 to 2020, we can also see some areas now with increasing trend, particularly over Luzon and Visayas. During the months of January, April, August, October, and December, while decreasing trends in May, June, and July over most of Luzon, as well as in all months over Mindanao except for January. Okay, so with that, we can now look at the projected changes, no? How will the rainfall might probably change in those areas by 2021 to 2050 relative to the 1981 to 2010 period. So here, because as I mentioned earlier, there are 33 different models that we have used. Then the projections indicate a range of possible futures, and therefore our national government or local governments should consider either a drier future, yung lower bound, as well as a wetter future, yung upper bound. But about 50% of the models are indicating this condition, yung nasa gitna. Ayan. And then, if we looked at the monthly potential changes in rainfall for the period 2021 to 2050, there are some areas with decrease in rainfall over most parts of Luzon, particularly from January to May, as well as about 5 to 15% wetter conditions in many areas in Luzon, as well as the whole country from June to December, except for the southern portions of Luzon and most of the Visayas. Okay. And then, additional information that we developed out of this exercise is to provide the projections in a summarized table for ease of use of different users, particularly local government units who will perhaps utilize this kind of information for their local climate change adaptation plans. So on the left panel is the projected changes in temperature in tabular form at different time periods. So it's from 2021 up to 2100, every 30 years average, every 10 years. Ayan. And then the observations are also provided there, the observed values, as well as for observed values and projected changes in rainfall. They're also provided. And figures summarizing those changes are also provided in order for to guide the users of this information. Kumbaga, isang tingin lang makita mo kaagad na in the future, for example, for temperature, by the end of the 21st century, of course, mas mataas yung warming that they are going to experience. Yan. And then for temperature, for rainfall naman, ganito yung itsura niya. At least may idea yung users that the peak of the rainy season, for instance, over Abra is during the month of July. Something like that. Okay. And those kinds of information are made available on the PAGASA's official website on an interactive map, so you can actually browse that on our website. You can see various information there, including temperature, rainfall, and many others. You can view relevant information there, and you can also download those historical temperature and rainfall, as well as projected rainfall and temperature for specific municipalities of interest. That's already available on the PAGASA's official website. So I think my time is already done. So thank you very much. Still 4 minutes, okay. Thanks. So we can probably continue looking at the online platform, and perhaps if you have time, you can browse that. So projected changes in temperature are also provided there, as well as projected changes in rainfall. And they are downloadable. No? If you click those, if you click one area there, area of interest, it will give you an information on the projected changes in rainfall, as well as the historical values. Similar with the temperature. And then, can you forward it to downloading? Yeah, so you can click that and then download, but by just providing a short registration, it will send you a link to your email address, and then you can download the files already. And the files look something like that. Yep. So feel free to experience that. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Doc Mar, for the very comprehensive presentation on the updated climate projections for the Philippines. Before we move on to the next presenter, I would like to remind everyone who are joining us online through Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube Live, you may type in your questions through chat, and our rapporteurs will be in charge of getting your questions to be answered later in the forum, open forum. Okay, so we are very lucky to have our next speaker for today. She is the Special Assistant to the Secretary for Special Projects, here to talk about Risk Resiliency Program, Project LAWA, or Local Adaptation to Water Access. Let us give a warm round of applause to Dr. Maria Isabel Lanada.
Good morning. On behalf of the Secretary, thank you. I will be presenting the Risk Resiliency Program and Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation through cash for training and work of the agency. So basically, the Risk Resiliency Program through cash for training and work is a convergence program of the Cabinet Cluster on Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation, DRRM, or Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. And the program aims to enhance the adaptive capacity of impoverished and at the same time vulnerable families to socio-environmental risk through cash for training and cash for work, and by providing specific activities focusing on food security and water sufficiency interventions. So, sorry. Ayan. Sige, okay na. So, may delay lang. So this is our Project LAWA at Binhi through cash for training and work, a community-based approach, as discussed a while ago by Ms. Rossi, you are providing data while the DSWD is using your scientific data to implement community-based interventions. So this is the Project LAWA, or the Local Adaptation to Water Access, and the BINHI, or the Project BINHI, is breaking insufficiency through nutritious harvest for the impoverished. So of course, DOST-PAGASA, our data is our main source of reference. We are really relying to the data provided by DOST-PAGASA, specifically in harmonizing our programs with other agencies and in developing activities down to the local government units. Of course, the climate change data coming from DOST, and of course, the scientific data coming from Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is also one of our reference. Of this, the Philippines, as an archipelagic nation of over 117 million people, now faces threats from more intense tropical cyclones, drastic changes in rainfall patterns, sea level rise, and increasing temperatures. In this context, that the agency develop community-based activities that will provide focus on food security and water sufficiency. These are some scenarios that our program, Project LAWA and BINHI, came in with this November and December DOST-PAGASA Climate Outlook. So our 2024 plan for climate change adaptation and mitigation came from this scientific data provided by DOST-PAGASA. Of course, with a strong El Nino, and at the same time, with this data and the sustainable development goals that we are need to implement by this year, the agency targets for sustainable development goals. Number one is to no poverty, of course, and poverty in all its forms. And as an agency providing social protection in the country, we also aim to achieve the goal number 2, which is the zero hunger, or the end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. And the third, of course, is the climate action. This is really our urgent action to combat climate change through this Project LAWA and BINHI. And lastly, the partnerships for the goals, because we need to strengthen the means of our implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. So we partnered with various agencies such as international non-government organization, the UN WFP, or the United Nations World Food Program, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Local Government, Interior Local Government, or DILG, and the NCIP for the indigenous peoples. And of course, we aligned our program to the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028, specifically Chapter 15, from plan to action, or accelerate climate action and strengthen disaster resilience. So this Project LAWA and BINHI is our flagship program for the effects of El Nino and climate change in general. So we base from the climate outlook on drought of the DOST-PAGASA. We focus our program, our Project LAWA and BINHI, or our program for climate change adaptation and mitigation, in addressing economic vulnerability. And we prioritize our projects, and we sustained our program through community-based and participatory approach, and people-centered, of course. And lastly, maximum and equitable use of limited resources. With this data from November, we call our target provinces from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And as we monitor the data of DOST-PAGASA, for instance, last November, there is no data when it comes to drought, but when it comes to, here comes the December, Cavite already is in a drought stage. So we included Cavite in our target. Specifically, another one from Region 4A, for example, is Region 4B, Palawan. Since 2015, from the Cabinet cluster, we do not include Region 4B, but because of data of the DOST-PAGASA, we already targeted Region 4B and Oriental Mindoro as well. So there, sige. Dito na lang, bilisan na lang natin. We also align our program to National Climate Change Action Plan, specifically the food security, water security, and number 7, the knowledge and capacity development. So with this, the Project Lawa is more on the water security, while Binhi is more on food security. We also align our program as a member of the Cabinet Cluster on Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation, or CCCAM and DRR, as a member and at the same time Chair of Human Development and Poverty Reduction Cluster. And of course, this is aligned to our vision and mission, of which we need to ensure programs and services and our policies and programs for the poor, vulnerable, and disadvantaged. Last year, our Secretary Rex Gatchalian, issued a memorandum to all field offices of the SWD to implement water sufficiency and food security. And this is our Project Lawa and Project Binhi. So the water sufficiency is more in construction of small farm reservoir, or the Lawa. And then repairs and rehabilitation of water harvesting facilities, repairs of multipurpose water infra, diversification of water supplies, aqua hydroponics, aquaculture, and other activities supporting water sufficiency. Aside from that, we are also helping the communities to identify swamps, springs, and other water resources so that they can maximize the water availability in their areas. Another one is the phase 2, or the food security, or the Project Binhi. This is more on communal vegetable gardening, urban gardening, school-based and community-based vegetable gardening, community-based diversified integrated farming, planting of disaster-resilient crops, fruit-bearing trees and mangroves, vermicomposting, and other activities supporting food security. So aside from welfare services, the DSWD is also helping our communities more on community development program. So the parameters of the implementation is the 100% prevailing daily minimum wage, direct cash payout, at least 18 years old and able to perform. So we target the IPs, the farmers, the fisher folks, specifically the women and the PWDs. And the number of days, we have this timeline or arrangement of 10 to 25 days, and the implementation period will be January to December of this year. So the conceptual framework is this. The stage 1 is all about the cash for training. So we don't just pay our partner beneficiaries, but we need to develop and refashion their orientation, develop the culture of ownership, and develop the culture of partnership. So we call them partner beneficiaries. The stage 2 is all about the Project Lawa and Binhi. So we have this cash for work through Project Lawa, and the cash for training, cash for work rather, through Project Binhi, through planting of vegetables, fruit-bearing, and disaster-resilient crops. And the stage 3 is the cash for training through learning and development sessions on sustainability strategies. So we need to come up with plans, come up with ordinances and policies with LGUs so that the program will be sustained. So our target is ensuring water sufficiency and food security of the communities to decrease economic vulnerability, combat hunger, and alleviate poverty through our Project Lawa and Binhi. So that is our stage 1, 2, 3 implementation. And the last stage is the sustainability strategy, of which a 2-day cash for training activity focusing on the livelihood related to food, water security such as product development, maintenance and rehabilitation of the constructed facilities, water and soil management, biodiversity management, organization of community groups, passage of local ordinance, turnover ceremony, among others. So we can avoid the dole-out type of delivering services. So our partners, the DILG, the DA, the NCIP, and of course the UPLB. For the regional level, we partnered with the local government units. And for the pilot implementation, we implemented this in 3 regions and 3 provinces. And we implemented this in Ifugao, in Antique, and in Davao de Oro. So we don't just implement this year. We do feasibility study and we come up with these concepts. Project LAWA, or the Local Adaptation to Water Access, seeks to develop sustainable solutions and implement intervention that will alleviate the challenges faced by the communities during periods of severe drought conditions leading to water scarcity. So these are the examples of impounding and storage facilities with concrete or plastic as lining and protection of embankment. These are used to collect rainfall and runoff for immediate and future agricultural use. So we also have smaller version of sweep designed to collect rainfall and runoff for use in a single farm. Dam height is maximum of 4 meters po. So this is a supplemental source of irrigation, inland fish production. So the criteria is be sorted in at least topography, but can also be constructed in flat areas. No? The best from the pilot activities and from the result of the pilot implementation is the clay loom and Sunday clay loom for the SFR embankment. The best is also the dugout type and the combination of the dugout type and the semi-circular type. So these are the areas we implemented the pilot of this project LAWA and Binhi. From Ifugao to Antique to Davao de Oro, we have 90 SFRs or LAWA with 4,590 partner beneficiaries, and we accomplished 100%. For 2024, of course, we targeted our areas based from the DOST-PAGASA data, Climate Outlook, dated December 3, 2023. At least top 5 LGUs with high poverty incidence based on Listahanan 3 selected LGUs are based on the highest percentage of Listahanan poor over total population except for the LGU in the pilot implementation of Project LAWA. And the field offices may allocate funds to existing implementing 5 LGUs based on the assessment of localized climate outlook. Third is the field offices may directly engage or coordinate with the provincial or city LGU to ensure flexibility and suitability of the implementation of the RRP CFTW or cash for training and work. Lastly, assessment and recommendations from the local cluster or technical working group may be considered to ensure that the priority target areas are aligned with their climate change adaptation and mitigation programs. So for this year, of course, this is the milestone of the project pilot implementation. We created jobs, infrastructure development, stakeholder engagement, social impact. Specifically, partnership development with various tribes, various cooperatives, and various farmers' associations. For this year, the agency allotted at least 1.4 billion for this Project LAWA and Binhi. No, the DRRP or the Disaster Risk Reduction Program Climate Change Fund amounting to 1.4 billion rather. So with this, we have continuing fund last year, 12 million with a total of 1,420,769,977.15 to be exact. So this is the allotted fund for the 2024. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lanada, for giving us a glimpse of the programs of the DSWD on climate resilience. Now we move on to the open forum. But before that, let me just remind everyone to send in your questions online. But in the interest of time, we'll be accommodating 2 questions on site here from the AMIAN conference room and probably two from online participants. So if you have any questions, you may raise your hand and then please state your name and affiliation and also to whom you are directing the question. Any questions? If there are no questions at the moment, yes, sir.
The presentation of Dr. Lanada was very interesting. My question is, are there more events that we will learn from the mitigation practices, best practices of the clients of PAGASA? Kasi that's very interesting eh. So what are the other clients of PAGASA doing? Para we can learn from each other. Diba? We're using the data, but learning from the different practices would be very good. Are there future forums like that?
Sa PAGASA pala, sir, address yung question. I think yung climate forum naman is regularly being conducted, no? So monthly. So with such kind of forum, may participants tayo from various stakeholders. And I think from that event, we can share updated climate outlook as well as seasonal forecasts. And yeah, but it's really good to know who the users of informations are. And definitely, it's worth also investigating. Perhaps we can, I don't know, Ate Rusi, if we can send some questionnaires to our participants so that we can also try to address, no, baka may kulang dun sa information na naibibigay natin that they think could probably be more useful sana. So, I'm not sure may gusto kayo dagdag.
Yeah. Good morning and thank you for the question and thank you also for the very good presentation in highlighting the translation of our climate information into actionable work. So actually, the national government has come up with the National El Niño Task Force. So I hope you know that. And DSWD is a part of that task force. So we have 5 key concern areas wherein we have the food security, we have the health, water, energy, and as well as public safety. And all of those are using, first of all, is the climate information, both from the assessment as well as climate outlook. And monthly, we are meeting and addressing all the needs of the key concern areas. And I think most of them are also present here. And they could also share maybe their actions towards the climate outlook that we provide. And we also come up and also be launched the El Niño online, now not only El Niño, but the ENSO online platform that later on be launched. No? So our president actually acted on the first issuance of PAGASA, the El Niño Watts and El Niño Advisory, that he calls for national government to come together and have the whole governance approach. So that is the update that we have. And maybe our other colleagues can also add to that.
Yes, ma'am.
So, good afternoon po. I'm Jamie from the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation. So, just like what Ms. Thelma said, meron din pong platform yung private sector naman for the El Nino that is called El Nino Dashboard din. So, basically, that is a centralized platform. Meron po siyang mga relevant na El Nino information na nanggagaling din po sa PAGASA. At the same time, pinaplot din po namin doon yung mga initiatives ng private sector in mitigating the effects of El Nino. So, ngayon po, we are also encouraging yung mga network namin sa private sector in engaging with more El Nino mitigation activities na pwede namin i-plot doon so that meron kaming record representing the private sector's effort po in El Nino po.
Okay, so in the interest of time, we are moving on to our next part of the program. So, okay. So, let's hear it first from Dr. Nathaniel. Miss Dr. Repolyo. Sorry.
Magandang umaga po. Cha Repolo from UPMSI. Tanong ko lang po, no, ang ganda ng presentation and prediction for the precipitation and also for temperature on terrestrial. Is there any plan po ba na aside from those variables for climate change, mga essential variables for climate change, is there any plan or nasa pipeline din po ba ng PAGASA to include sea level rise and also temperature also for the marine, for the water, for the ocean around us, and also other essential climate variables po. Kasi I think importante yung sea level rise given the impact. Kasi after El Nino, we will have La Nina also. So kasi po, if we have like effort also from academe that we can work together for the sea level rise naman to be included on our climate change indicators po. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Repolyo, for that manifestation. We have one more manifestation from our administrator, Dr. Servando, sir.
Based on remote sensing information, because we are receiving satellite image from the Korean satellite, which include band or channel wherein we can analyze ocean colors and other information related to the ocean surface, which is relevant to in studying climate change pattern. This information will be, I think, available soon kasi through our PAGASA website actually. Anyone can access this information.
Okay, maraming salamat
I
po.
know, and I know PhilSA also is one department which is also an important source of when it comes to remote sensing data actually. It so happened that PAGASA we have this receiving facility recently installed in collaboration with our counterpart from the Korean government.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Dr. Servando, for that. And to add a few more manifestations on that, there's an ongoing discussion between PAGASA and then MSI as well for possible collaboration on marine sciences. Thank you for that, sir and ma'am. All right, now let's continue with the part 2 of our scientific Scientific Forum. I'll be the session chair. Our session will be on the science-based local development planning, climate-smart agriculture for food security, and water stewardship. I am the session chair, Joseph Basconcillo, and together with me is Ms. Michelle A. Acosta. We have 3 speakers on board from different organizations, both here and abroad. And before we start, I would like to confirm first from the ICT, if Mr. Mitesh is already online. Can you confirm, please? So
Yeah,
before we
morning,
proceed.
thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mitesh. So we will call you on later for your presentations. For each speaker, you will be provided with 20 minutes presentation, please. And the timekeeper, Ms. Michelle Acosta, will flash the time for you. You have 20 minutes. So to begin with, we have Mr. Lord Janel Solido, Development Management Officer from the Climate Change Commission. The title of his presentation is on Communities for Resilience Program, Core Program, Capacity Building on Science-Based Development Planning. Round of applause for Mr. Salido, please.
Ito yung next. Okay. Sige po. Hello po. Mahina lang yata, sir. Hello po, good morning everyone. So my name is Janel Salido from the Climate Change Commission, and would like to acknowledge the key officials from the DOST-PAGASA and of course the participants from the other agencies. So my presentation will be focusing on one of the flagship program of the Climate Change Commission, which is the Communities for Resilience, or the CORE program. So basically the CORE program, this is the capacity building activities that the Commission being provided to our local government units, particularly in formulating their enhanced local climate change action plan. And in fact, in the implementation of our CORE program, the CCC also tapped the DOST-PAGASA, kasi we do acknowledge the expertise of the DOST-PAGASA, particularly in capacitating our local government units in interpreting those data sets, particularly in the climate projections. Considering po that climate projections also form an integral part in their local climate action planning, particularly in developing their ELCCAP. So next slide, please. Okay. Ayun na, sir. Delay lang siya. Okay. Okay. So just to provide you a backgrounder, so basically, as mentioned earlier, that climate change is an existential threat. And in fact, in the last year Conference of Parties, of course, there's already a statement that climate change also is a global governance challenge that requires a whole of nation and society approach for us to mitigate its impacts. And in fact, as you can see in this slide, in 2023 po, the Philippines ranked based on the global risk index as the most risk countries, particularly to the impacts of climate change. And despite of our minimal contributions to the global greenhouse gas emissions, so climate change has significantly threatens our food security, which significantly hinders our economic development and even risk of losing our island communities. And in fact, also the Climate Change Commission, we also have the National Panel of Technical Experts. These are the scientific and advisory body of the commissions, wherein they able to identify the top climate industries in the Philippines, which requires urgent climate actions. So first, we have the rising sea level rise, the coastal erosion, the flooding, the increasing frequency and severity of tropical cyclones, the extreme droughts, the temperature increase, the rising urban heat index, the extreme rainfall, the climate-influenced diseases, the changing wind patterns, and lastly, we have the biodiversity loss. So those identified climate industries are identified at most geographically and temporally pervasive climatic risks across the country. So basically, those risks also coincide with the sixth assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, which recognizes the interactions among coupled systems such as the climate ecosystem, the climate, the ecosystem, so includes po dyan the biodiversity at the same time, the human society. Next slide, please. And this slide also, just to provide you that between 2011 to 2021, our country has incurred 673.30 billion worth of loss and damages due to tropical cyclones alone. So basically, this an immensely huge amount that could have been devoted to poverty reduction and elevation programs of the government or basically on the health insurance program to safeguard our people from the unexpected medical costs. But we lost that funds in a quick instant due to the disasters. So likewise also, based also in statistics, in the past decade, 60,000 climate and disaster related deaths, missing and injured was also recorded based on the report from the Philippine Statistics Authority. Next slide, please. And of course, in response to the worsening vulnerabilities of our country, so the Climate Change Act was passed in 2009, creating the Climate Change Commission as the lead policy-making body on climate change. So in fact, the Climate Change Commission, we are the attached agency, the attached office in the Office of the President. So one of our mandate is to continuously coordinate, monitor, and evaluate the climate change-related plans and programs of the government in both national and the local level. And one of our mandates also is to ensure the mainstreaming and sectoral integration of climate change initiatives across all levels of governance. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so to guide the whole process of mainstreaming in both national and local action related to climate change, so the Climate Change Commission also developed the National Framework Strategy on Climate Change. So basically, this framework guides the National Climate Change Action Plan, which in turns to serve as the basis for local government units in developing their enhanced local climate change action plans. So basically, the purpose of these two plans are to provide a general framework for both national actions on climate change. So basically, these plans sets out the country's goals and objectives on how we're going our country to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions at the same time in how we're going to increase the community's resilience due to the impacts of climate change. And moreover also, in recognition in the critical role of the local government units, particularly in the implementing of climate action at the local level. So the CCC also and the LG and other relevant agencies have gone a long way in providing necessary technical guidance, particularly in mainstreaming climate change in the local development plans and programs, one of which is the formulation of their enhanced local climate change action plan. So since 2014, various policy and frameworks and multiple guidebooks, manuals and methodologies have been developed to ensure and guide that the climate risk information is well integrated in the process of planning and programming at the local level, and ultimately to guarantee that climate change objectives are being achieved through the implementation of climate change options and sustainability measures over time at the local level. So one of the initiatives that to support this is the implementation of the Committees for Resilience, or the core program of the Commission. So with the DILG, LGUs are being provided with necessary technical assistance through the capacity building program in developing their enhanced local climate change action plan. So as compared to the previous version, the LCCAP, so the enhanced version of the LCCAP acknowledges the greenhouse gas inventory and the modified climate and disaster risk assessment, or the CIDRA. So basically, this tool significantly help our LGUs to specifically define their local priority actions for both adaptation and mitigations, to include the introduction, the concept of mitigation, and continuously provide guidance to LGUs in developing their low-emission development strategies that can support the achievement of local development goals and priorities. So what is Committees for our Resilience Program, the CORE? So basically, the CCC developed the CORE program, primarily aims to support our local government units in formulating their LCCAP. So basically, it localizes the country's national climate policies, such as the NCCAP, and the post-2015 global frameworks to enable LGUs to adapt to climate impacts. Okay, so primarily, the objectives of the CORE program is to strengthen the planning capacity and the overall resilience of our LGUs. Second is to integrate also the climate change adaptation and the mitigation, to include also the disaster risk reductions into development policies and programs at the local level. So under the CORE program, these are the components that are being embedded in our modules. We also include the introduction of the climate and disaster risk assessment, so part also of the program. So we also include the climate change projection. So we also tap the DOST-PAGASA to discuss about climate projections in our training. And of course, we also provide an overview on the community-level greenhouse gas inventory. So in the greenhouse gas inventory, we are providing discussions, particularly on the data gathering process. At the same time, we also provide a hands-on training on how they're going to use the simplified greenhouse gas toolkit that had been developed by the CCC. And of course, we also provide also orientation and at the same time hands-on training on local climate change expenditure tagging process. So, and lastly, we also provide a presentation on the overview of the People's Survival Fund. So in that particular presentation, we provide an information on how the LGUs can access the PSF fund, what are the documentary requirements, what are the criteria that the LGU needs to follow po in accessing the funds. Okay. So since the establishment of the CORE in 2015, so the number of LCCAP, the LCCAP in place in grow. So from 137 LCCAPs in 2015, so currently 1,497 or 87.23% out of 1,715 LGUs have submitted their LCCAP to the Commission. So basically, the significant increase of the compliance is due to the continuous revision of the capacity building program of the Commission to the LGU and persistent reminder of their compliance to the RA 972 at the same time to the DILG Memorandum Circular 2021-068. So these LGUs also that have submitted their LCCAP have an approved LCCAP that have been integrated the result of the risk assessment and climate change adaptation and mitigation actions. So far, here are the milestones of the CORE program. So the overall, so the CCC have provided a total of 197 capacity building activities to local government units, wherein 1,350 LGUs and 167 higher education institutions have received technical assistance from the Commission. So the Commission also provided technical assistance to our LGU and HEIs in the conduct of their greenhouse gas inventory and climate change expenditure tagging process. So as a way forward also for this program, the CCC will continuously collaborate with the ALG on the issuance of the relevant policies and guidelines on LCCAP compliance. And at the same time, we will continue our partnership with relevant agencies, the academe, the CSO, and other stakeholders to strengthen the provision of the continuous capacity building and necessary technical assistance to our LGUs, particularly in formulating an enhancement of their local climate change action plan. And currently, the CCC also is currently developing a mechanism to monitor and review the submitted LCCAPs to the Commission. So basically, this is in partnership with the Department of Interior and Local Government po. So I think that's the end of my presentation po. So basically, this is a brief overview about the core program. So thank you po for listening po.
Thank you very much, Mr. Janel Salido from the Climate Change Commission. Next on board, we have another presenter, that is Mr. Mitesh Visawant, Agricultural Specialist from the Regional Integrated Multi-Hazard Early Warning System, or RIMES. And the title of his presentation is on climate-related activities on agriculture in Southeast Asia/Philippines. So we have Mr. Sawant. Round of applause, please.
Yeah, morning and thanks.
Yes, good morning.
Just one request, if you allow me to share the screen on the Zoom. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Just a confirmation that all of you can hear me and can see my slide.
Hi, Mr. Juan. Yes, you can see your slide now.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so yeah, to save the bandwidth, I will keep my video off. Good morning to all of you, and hope you all can hear me and can see my slide. First of all, I would like to thank WMO, DOST and PAGASA to give this opportunity to RIMES to present in this important forum. I will just take this opportunity just to introduce about the RIMES because some of maybe not aware about the RIMES. As organization, we are a regional organization, consists of 48 members and collaborating countries. We work in the multi-hazard way. We started from the earthquake, tsunami, and then we also expanded into the hydrometeorological hazard. The integrated in the sense that we are bringing the science and linking it to the user sector, and we also working in the early warning sector. And it consists of many systems. That's why it's a regional integrated multi-hazard early warning system. So these are some of the countries where RIMES is working, where we have 22 member states and 26 collaborating countries. And these are some of the key service sectors where RIMES is actually working among all the countries. So back to the main topic of today's my presentation, that the RIMES work in the sector of the agriculture. So what we see as the major challenges in the agriculture across all the countries is frequent droughts and floods, high incidence of pest disease, increased demands of water, and of course, with the population increase everywhere, there is increasing demand for the increased agriculture production. So if you see all of this problem is concentrate about, it is pointing towards the climate, where the climate is a important reasons for all of this problem that can be seen in the agriculture everywhere. And what we see is the possible reason, maybe we can say, is that our knowledge of climate is very limited. And also as a user sector, we are having a very less confidence while we are using this climate knowledge for the decision making. So these are the two the things that has collected to climate and the use of the climate knowledge in the agriculture sector. So how RIMES approach to mitigate these challenges in the agriculture sector. So basically, my presentation will be mostly concentrated on the approach that we will be taking in the sector of the agriculture. And then the main reasons that I talked about, one is the lack of climate knowledge and a clear understanding of the forest. So for that one, the RHYMES approach was a bottom-up approach, where actually what you are doing, what RHYMES is doing is we are capacity building the farmer, the agriculture extension officer, Department of Agriculture, to understand this climate domain. Also increase the farmers' capacity to understand this different scale of time forecast and how they can use this knowledge, translate this climate knowledge, and that they can use it into the farmer. So what we call it is as a bottom-up approach. And the second one is even they have this kind of knowledge currently. Now there is still we have the confidence lacking in the user sector to use this knowledge to make the decision. For that, RHYMES approach is the top-down approach, where actually we provide a decision support system. So it is called not a decision-making system, but a decision support system, because it will be supporting the users' decisions, so they have the more confidence to take the decisions when it comes to the translating forecast into the crop-relevant information. So with the DSS, our objective is that the user could get access to the best available forecast product, and that could be used into the decision making. And also through this kind of decision support system, we can have a feedback that can be received regularly from the user sector. So basically, I will discuss about these two approaches. I will go first for the top-down approach that we are using in the agriculture sector, is the designing of the decision support system. So RHYMES since 2015 working development of this decision support system. We started in the countries of Myanmar, and this was our DSS that we started in Myanmar. It is called as a CSAME, that is a specialized expert system for agrometeorological early warning. So it was a very interesting story. When we started in Myanmar, CSAME was the crop where farmers were very much of reliable crop. If they have any adverse weather climate condition, they used to go for the CSAME. So that's why we take that name, acronym, as a CSAME. And then we started developing the CSAME system. So the purpose of the system was very simple. There are two main questions that we were asking to the users: that can you take the advantage of the favorable weather condition, and can you reduce the risk of adverse weather condition? If you could do these two things, we believe that we could have saved a lot in the agriculture sector. So with that, we started the development of this decision support system. How it works is, as you can see, the different components of this decision support system. So we have a weather forecast that will be in the different time scale that is coming from the different sources. They may be WRF, ECM, WF, and so on, and then the country forecast. And also we have the seasonal forecast, observation data, and then maybe some static layer information that could be used in the agriculture. Then also we work with the Department of Agriculture to get this crop data, the different crop weather calendar, crop sensitivity information. All this information will be managed on the web-based management system, and it was used to make the crop advisory. And this crop advisory will be generated and then is disseminated using the different tools that I will discuss further. So overall, the system concept is we can summarize into the 4 stages, where actually first the forecast is being generated in the system. It was received from the different sources. The second will be the forecast translation, where actually the NMHS play a very important role to translate this forecast. And with the capacity building training, we are also training the extension officers to understand this forecast translation and then use into the making of this advisory. And before it goes to the final user sector, that is a farmer, there is also always an expert review from the Department of Agriculture side, who actually review the output from this DSS, and after the review of this from the expert, it is goes to the final, that is farmer. And then from farmer also we receive the feedback via mobile application that I will talk about just now, and then the circle goes on. So the success of this DSS is depend on all the sector participants, because this is a kind of co-production process where National Met and Hydrological Services are responsible for updating and verifying the forecast, sharing that forecast with the Department of Agriculture. The CISA produce the agriculture advisory that will be updated and verified by the DOA. And RIMES is assisting in supporting and improvement in the crop models, or maybe the advisory generations, logics and thing. And it always receives the feedback on the received advisory using the mobile application and other mode of communication. So we started this in 2015 in the Myanmar, and then we received many comments from the users on the use of the system. And so we move from the original CISA to the next gen CISA, where we actually integrated all the feedbacks from the users. And then from 2023 24 we are moving to the next gen CISA, where we are using a unified approach. The unified approach, we will having the improved user interface for the CISA. It will be easily customizable for any country as per the requirement, and mainly in next gen, the total time required for integration of the crop data will be reduced. So, because what we experience from the other countries is the Department of Agriculture always have less human power to work on the complex system. So we try to make the system as simple as possible. So this is one of the example of this decision support system for our next gen CISA that we developed for the Cambodia, just to give you example. And this is a kind of dashboard. The dashboard is designed in such way that the user or administrator, by looking from the dashboard, will get the overview or the picture of the agriculture sector's component. Like for example, on the top, you have the alerts from the different either is a heat wave, drought, or frost, or whatever alerts in the different locations. So administration can look at this kind of alert. He can see where these alerts are being popping, and actually he can go and actually check that location and can use the resources in his hand to solve this kind of alert. Also, if you can see the left hand side corner, there is a pest and disease alert that is generated by the system. So with the one view, the administrator can understand what kind of pest and disease that is going to occur into the particular field and particular crop, and then it can take the action as per the alert that he can receive. The second important thing in the DSS we give is the location specific forecast, because for the crop, the location specific forecast is very important. So with this DSS, user can go and check his location specific forecast. It could be average of the 5 days or 7 days, is it depend on the country's demand. And the alert that you saw in the dashboard page, actually the administrator can go and actually check where these threshold alerts, what kind of threshold we are using to generate this alert while using this the alert page. And the next important part of the DSS is the crop section. where actually we improve the crop section with minimum input. The user can, for example, Department of Agriculture Extension people can use this section to build the crop calendar digitally into the DSS, and that could be used for the generation of the advisory. And after the DOA filled the DSS with the crop calendar, it will look like something like this, where you have all the growth stages of the particular crop. Also, there is a provision to add the possible pest and disease and the crop advisory at the same page. And for the you can have a threshold for the particular pest and disease that could be occur and that have the relations with the climate. Yes. So at the back end, how it is work is like for example, in case of the pest and disease, there may be many conditions that is required to occurrence of the particular pest. There may be combination of a few condition, or there may be one condition is there and then another condition is not there. So basically, at the back end of the DSS, it calculate these parameters. It check these parameters with the threshold, and then it generate the advisory. So basically, what they do is like the system at any stage identify the growth stage of the particular crop. It identify the location. Then the system already know about the possible pest and disease for that particular growth stage, and also know about the forecast for that location. So, and with this congenial weather, if it found this the weather conditions in the forecast is congenial for the pest and disease, it will generate the advisory, and this advisory will look like something like this. I just give the example. And for the dissemination, once the advisory is being generated, then actually DOA can go through this advisory. They have option to change the advisory as per the local context, their knowledge. If they found it correct, then they can also actually save this bulletin, and then it could be disseminated by using the various means. Also, with the use of mobile application nowadays, we thought of bring this to the mobile also, and we developed the similar mobile application for this decision support system that will be simple to use. So with the mobile application, we are bringing this DSS very close to the farmer, where actually he could from the list of many crops, actually he could select only the crop that he is interested in, and he will get only the notification about his crop. So it is like a personal advisor to the farmer. These are the few of the screenshot of this mobile application, where you can see that there are different crop advisories and forecast is available. The additional feature of this one is like we can have a call center with the language barrier. You can also go for the audio advisory and the broadcasting of the message. So this is the one of the sample from Cambodia, where we use the Sesame mobile application, and then the farmer get the advisory in this mobile application in this way. So the next approach is the bottom-up approach, where we are talking about the capacity building of the farmer, the extension officers, this one. So the purpose is that they understand this weather forecast, and they could also able to translate this knowledge when they using the for advisory that is being generated by the DSS. The farm school is called as a forecast application for risk management in the agriculture, where actually we start from the district level agriculture extension officer to train them. Once they train, they will be training the sub-district training officers, and then the sub-district officer will be training the smart farmer in the village, and then subsequently this farmer will be having the group of farmer they will be training after that. So this is the whole capacity building process. So these are some of the example where we had this forecast farm school training done in Myanmar and this Cambodia, some places in India. These are some of the photos of this one. So Lastly, we have some the benefit that is observed when we have this top-down and bottom-up approach that I wanted to share with you. The sorry, yeah. So in case of Myanmar, for example, only the advisory of the cyclone and flood forecasting, it was shown that only the advisory generated by the system could use help farmer to save early harvest their green crop and then could have saved around USD 2,200 during this. Also, there was a very much reduction in the irrigation cost and save USD 1,500. In the Sri Lanka, when they have this below normal rainfall prediction, the DOA could guide the farmer, and with this guidance, they change to the short duration varieties, and then they use incident rain for the rain preparation. Also, DOA also provided a recommendation using this advisory to the Ministry of Agriculture about the immediate rice importation. In case of India, for example, with the below normal prediction for the northwest monsoon and the training in the farm school, the farmer actually went from the regular sowing paddy to the short duration varieties and short duration pulses varieties, and also with the forecast of heavy rainfall and the training with the farm school, we have seen that they changed, they harvested their crop early. Similarly, in the Cambodia,
Mitesh, I have to cut you.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Mitesh, can we give you at least 2 minutes more for your presentation?
yeah,
Is that
I
okay?
need 1 minute.
All right, 2
Last two
minutes.
slides. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, these are the last two slides for me. In the Cambodia also, when we do the survey on this system application, we have seen there is increase in the frequency of the use of this mobile application during the drought season. And also what we learn from our experience is that with the mobile application, they get very easy access to the climate information, and then they could make the crop planning decisions with the technical information that they received via the mobile application. So the last slide for me, that what we learn from all of this experience is that the most valuable forecast in all this for the farmer is the 7 days and the 10 days time frame where they make their crucial operational decisions. And also we learned that if farmers see that the seasonal forecast have the probability or 60% more, than they are willing to take decision on this forecast. Also, important thing is like farmers are very much interested in the location specific and the cross specific advisory. And if we could provide the advisory into the local language, they are very much interested. Last two things that we learned from this one is like even you provide all kind of information, it is always limited from farmer side if they have the limited access to the labor and machinery. And the last one is like what we learn is like we could reduce the significant input cost with this climate education. So this is all what lesson learned from all our experience. Thank you very much, and over to the organizer.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mitesh V. Sawan. Round of applause for Mr. Sawan. That was actually very interesting, Mitesh. Perhaps you could actually, the dashboard was particularly interesting. Perhaps in your next project, you could actually call it Open Sesame, right? Instead of Next Gen Sesame, you could actually call it the Open Sesame. Thank you very much again, Mr. Mitesh V. Sawan. Now, we have one more speaker on board. She is an associate professor from the UP Marine Science Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Dr. Maria Celia D. Malay. Ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. So, my name is Michelle Malay. I'm from the UP Marine Science Institute. As a representative of the academe, I'm sorry, I don't have a product to show or a program or a policy. Rather, decided to use this opportunity to highlight something that might be often forgotten when we talk about climate change. So I titled my presentation as 13 Needs 14, because in order for there to be effective climate action, we must not neglect the oceans and protecting life below the water, which is SDG 14 naman. We tend to forget what's happening under the water, but you will see through this presentation, I hope, that it's very central to all the other problems that we are talking about today. So, tama ba to? Dito pala. Ano ba yan? Okay na. Okay, so again, the main argument or message I want to impart, let me start with it, is that ocean health is central, is very important to all the sustainable development goals. And of course, they're all interconnected. That's very clear to all of us here. But I want to point out that SDGs 13 and 14 are particularly tightly coupled. No? You cannot talk about climate change without talking about the oceans because it's so central to understanding climate change. This is because oceans are extremely important in regulating the climate. Without the oceans, we wouldn't have the climate we have today. And also, having a healthy ocean and healthy water bodies is, especially in a nation such as ours, which is archipelagic and so many people live on the coast, it is central to having a resilient communities, that we have healthy ecosystems and healthy fisheries. So, slide I use in class. We live in a water world, no? This is a photo taken from the moon looking at the Earth, our biosphere. And one important thing between the moon and the Earth is that we have water. No? That's why the moon is a barren piece of rock, because it doesn't have any water to regulate its climate. Whereas our planet is 71% of its surface is covered in water, so we cannot just ignore it when we think about what the trajectory of our planet. And of that 71% covered in water, most of it, 97%, is in the oceans. And again, the climate projections all depend on understanding what's going on in the oceans, because it's the oceans that regulate climate. And how does it regulate climate? Three main ways. First, it absorbs heat. No, it has a high heat capacity. Water molecules have high heat capacity. And then it distributes that heat across the planet. So it's not concentrated, say, at the equator, but maintains a livable temperature throughout the planet. And also, it's an important component of the carbon cycle, as it both emits and absorbs carbon. And of course, we know that the carbon cycle and the increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is one of the main drivers of climate change today. So let's go over it briefly. No? So if we look at the change in the heat content of the planet from, say, the 1960s to present day, in terms of the heat content, the heat that is stored, most of it is stored in the blue area or in the oceans, whereas land and also ice has little capacity to absorb heat. So that heat that we are pumping into the Earth via the sun and greenhouse gases is being stored in the oceans. It can absorb, the oceans can absorb 1,000 times more heat than the atmosphere. So again, it's very, very important in climate modeling. It doesn't show up as an increase in temperature right away. If you look at this global map of temperature increase. Now, this is not absolute temperature, but how much temperature has changed. Temperature increases are very apparent in terrestrial areas. If you look at, say, the Amazon basin there or the North Pole, whereas the ocean seems to stay cool. And that is because what I was saying about the high heat capacity of the ocean. So it doesn't really warm, but it absorbs the heat. And then that heat gets distributed throughout the planet. There are two main systems of currents. There are the ocean surface currents, those gyres that I suppose many of you are familiar with, that distributes heat and the water in circular gyres at the surface. And then maybe less familiar is what we call the thermohaline circulation, or sometimes the global ocean conveyor belt, which is a turnover of deep and shallow water. So this brings warm water down to the depths, and then the cold waters go up again after 1,000 years. So it takes a drop of water 1,000 years to complete a cycle through the ocean, and then back up again. So what this means, though, is that any carbon dioxide and heat that is being absorbed by this downwelling into deep water will emerge again after 1,000 years. This is partly why global warming is such a hard problem for us to solve, because we cannot only think about now or the next few decades, but we have to think of the 1,000 years or more later when the carbon dioxide will emerge again. And in fact, there are valid worries. I think it's still something that is still being hotly discussed, but there are worries that this thermohaline circulation is slowing down or might even stop because of the melting of the ice sheets, say in Greenland. And this will have, if it happens, will have profound impacts on global climate, where certain areas will become extremely cold and others will become very dry and hot. So any changes to the ocean affects us on a planet scale, as well, of course, on a local scale. Now, as I said, oceans are also important in the carbon cycle. They absorb carbon dioxide, and that decreases the pH, or increases the acidity of the ocean. Now, the problem with that is that there are a lot of important calcifying calcium carbonate organisms in the oceans. You have your corals, you have your shellfish, and others, and they have trouble surviving in an increasingly acidic ocean. One important one are the coccolithophores, which are microscopic plankton that have calcium carbonate shells. And if you put them in more acidic waters, they become very deformed, and they are at the very base of the food chain of the oceans. Okay, thank you. So if we lose our calcifying phytoplankton, that is going to have profound impacts as well. From everything from your sardines to your tuna will have collapse in their populations because of a lack of food to eat. Let's maybe move on a little faster. So just to backtrack a bit, ocean acidification is one of the serious impacts of rising CO2 in the oceans. There are other ones, and the ones I want to highlight the most are reef health, especially coral bleaching due to increased temperatures of the ocean. And the other one is sea level rise, which Dr. Repolio mentioned earlier. And this in turn leads to inundation of the coast, impacts on agriculture, and impacts on coastal ecosystems like corals, mangroves, and seagrasses. Sea level rise, let's start here. When we think of rising sea levels, we often think of, because it's the melting of the glaciers and the icebergs and all that. That is true. But another big reason for sea level rise is just thermal expansion. That water is absorbing the heat. Yes, it's not getting hotter, but then it's swelling. So 38% of the sea level rise is simply due to thermal expansion. And this thermal expansion is leading to a rapid increase in the sea level anomaly. And this is not evenly distributed globally. If the average global, I think, was 4 millimeters in the last slide, this is one projection that we saw 14.8 millimeters per year. So that is really fast and really high over in the West Pacific. And that is due to the easterly trade winds. Now, even more, a bit finer scale, but we don't have really fine scale. Even within the Philippines, there will be differences in the rates of sea level rise due to thermal expansion. So different parts of the country will experience it differently. And I'll go over the effects of that. Yeah, this slide is, I think, very important, no, whether you're in science or not, because I don't think it's fully appreciated. So, ito, importante ito. Pag nag-rise po yung sea level, no, we think of it usually as just simply, okay, 1 millimeter rise, then you can imagine the water level rising by 1 millimeter lang. But that's not how it works. What happens is, with the rising sea level, it doesn't just cover, but it increases yung erosion at the coasts. So the amount of land or shoreline that is lost is not just plus 1 millimeter of water. It's much more. So that is why we're seeing a rapid erosion of the coasts, and we're seeing things like whether you have piers or seawalls or beach resorts that are being eroded out into the sea. No? And in fact, those structures can even make coastal erosion even worse. So this is very important in our planning for the future. No? We tend to build coastal developments and roads, but if we are not taking into account the sea level rise and how it differs from place to place, then we are missing large bits of the problem that we are going to be facing very soon. And I think that is why Dr. Repolyo was specifically asking if there would be projections on sea level rise, because it will be a very useful thing for all stakeholders to have. I won't go much into, so I'm a biologist, so I wanted to talk more about the biology of it, but we don't have really time anymore. But anyway, the warming temperatures also causes direct death of important ecosystem engineers like the corals, which are the basis of livelihoods of many coastal communities, and also protect coastlines from storms. But I'll just go over that. I just wanted to highlight a bit about what we think we should be doing in terms of preparation for coming climate change scenarios. Of course, we need to mitigate, meaning reduce our emissions. We need to adapt to the changing realities. And I think important for this audience is we also need to think about building our capacity, both human capacity, enhancing our scientific knowledge, having more data products and analytical tools, and also human resources like training our meteorologists, oceanographers, and so on in building and using these tools and data. For example, we can look at maps where we project where different coastal hazards are arising. This is still quite coarse. The things like sea level rise, which is everywhere, extreme heating events, increasing ocean temperature, extreme rainfall events, but finer scale mapping of such hazards and based on water parameters, not land parameters, I think would be very useful for understanding the future of the country in the face of climate change. And it's important not just for our coastal communities and food security, but also because the Philippines is at the center of global species biodiversity across many groups, including corals, fishes, seagrasses, mangroves. We don't even fully know what we have and what we are losing, but we do have some kind of obligation to the world to protect it as well, as we are stewards of our biodiversity. And also because, having that high biodiversity increases the resilience of these coastal ecosystems. For example, if you lose your corals due to coral bleaching and you have something that's algae dominated, it's going to produce less fish, and it's going to protect your coasts less from typhoons, and just be less resilient to other stressors, whether pollution or sedimentation or other things. And it's the same for, say, the open ocean. If we overfish it and it becomes too acid and it becomes something dominated by jellyfish instead of fish, that is also going to produce less healthy oceans and people as well. I just skipped that. And so the Philippines is one of the leading groups in marine protected area as a policy and a tool for management and conservation. But typically our marine protected areas encompass only one habitat, say only mangroves or only coral reefs. But we need to think about marine protected areas that encompass several habitats. Increasing diversity increases its resilience again. And also we need to think of it in terms of networks of protected areas, since they tend to be small, and these species that live there, their propagules, their larvae, need to travel in the water column. So we cannot just think of one island in isolation, but how they are connected. And we can do that. Oceanographers are modeling the currents at different times, and we can predict which networks of marine protected areas would be most effective in, say, maintaining our fishery stocks for coral reef related fishes. Another important thing we need to be thinking about is also the ocean, not in isolation, but how it is affected by what's happening on land. Tapusin ko na lang 2 slides. Two of the worst chronic stressors we have, even if you have a well-protected area, if it is impacted by sedimentation, say from coastal developments or from agricultural runoff or sewage, then this will degrade the marine ecosystems. So I guess my last takeaway is we also have some restoration activities that can be useful, but only with proper scientific guidance, such as planting mangroves can help in protecting shorelines, but oftentimes they are planted in the wrong zone, and we are also not planning for sea level rise, so they tend to be wasted efforts. For example, here they might be planting on a seagrass bed or where it's too shallow. So first, you need to know the conditions right now, and also you need to think about how it will change with sea level rise. So knowing yung different fine-scale maps for sea level rise will help coastal planners decide where are the appropriate areas to plant mangroves. So we need those high spatial resolution maps of potential inundation in the future. So I think I'll end there. Just wanted to go back to the message na ocean health is central to SDG 13 and also important in all the other SDGs. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malay, for your interesting presentation. Now, in the interest of time, we can accommodate 1 to 2 questions for this session. So again, we have 3 speakers on board from the Climate Change Commission, from RIMES, and from the UP Marine Science Institute. So who wants to throw the first question? Anything? From anyone? Questions from anyone? Or manifestations, comments for DOST-PAGASA, and for any of our speakers? Okay, while waiting for that question, comment, manifestation, we would like to acknowledge the participants from our online platforms. We have more than 200 participants via different social media platforms of DOST-PAGASA. Maraming salamat po sa pagpunta sa ating scientific forum. Now again, going back, who wants to throw the first question? Dr. Mar, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Asho. And to our last speaker, thank you very much, ma'am. That's marami kami natutunan doon. Isang question ko lang po, kasi typically if you look at sea level rise, tama po kayo, no? Parang hindi na ko consider yung coastal erosion. And that adds up pala dun sa possible na maloloss natin na area, particularly sa coastal areas. Do we have any, methodology to quantify such kind of soil erosion, coastal erosion pertaining to sea level rise? Because if we look at even yung mga online platforms that documents yung potential increased risk in flooding due to sea level rise, pero yun po hindi nga taken into account yung coastal erosion. Would you suggest something for us to do that? Because marami tayong mga LGUs na coastal areas po. Thank you po.
Hello. So salamat Sir Mark for the question. Baka may comment si Ma'am Cha because I'm a biologist. I don't really know so much.
All right, thank you for that.
Sandali, may
Yes po, yes. We have a physical oceanographer on board, Dr. Charina Repolyo, Deputy Director for Research and Development of the UP Marine Science Institute. Ma'am Cha.
Yeah, regarding for the sea level rise, so we had a project that lasted last year, I think 2022, last 2 years. So we analyzed the tide gauges of whole Philippines to measure the sea level rise around the Philippines where we have the tide gauges. And from there, we was able to measure sea level rise, and the highest is, of course, Manila. It's about 13.13 centimeters per year. And with the use of satellite altimeter data, we were able also to measure the vertical land motion that exacerbate this sea level rise around the Philippines. So we have those numbers, and those results was also published. So you can Google rise and fall local variabilities of sea level rise in the Philippines. That's the title of the paper. And it highlights, the importance of having a long-term observation of tide gauges along our coastline, and it can be used to predict increase in sea level for future, and also a good data to be used for flood inundation. So the result of this project, we were working with Oscar M. Lopez Center, and they have this sea level project that predicts at different RCPs. And eventually, we will come up with a visual sea level rise scenario for the whole Philippines, projecting sea level rise at the same time, identify areas that are vulnerable for flood. So it's still ongoing, and we're still working on it.
Okay, I have a follow-up. Do you have a follow-up question for that? All right. I have a follow-up question for that. Because, again, there are two kinds of sea level rise. We have the eustatic and we have the isostatic. So in the case of the Philippines, which is more faster and contributes to the rate of sea level rise?
Between sea level rise from the sea, the expansion of the sea. So for example, for Manila Bay, we measure 12.12 centimeters per year. The vertical land motion is, I think the maximum is 5 millimeters per year. And those areas are El Nido, and another one is Cagayan de... I have to make sure that I'm giving the right information. So the highest one was Cagayan de Oro, and another one is El Nido. It's about 5 millimeters per year for the vertical land motion.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Repolyo. We have one more question on board. Sir, please identify yourself, your affiliation, and your name.
I'm Edgar Gutierrez, weather specialist from Giwan.
Salamat, sir.
So, in Metro Manila, actually, as far as my knowledge is concerned, one of the factor in sea level rise is the massive reclamation of Manila Bay area. So, the result is the volume being displaced there goes to the low-lying areas in Metro Manila, just like in Nabotas, Malabon, and Bulacan area. Like in Bulacan, the cemetery is already completely submerged in water. And in Malabon, they have already added 3 layers of pavement on the roads. So why didn't you consider about in your research about the massive reclamation also in the, like say, for example, if the one of the area is started on the reclaiming the area, so with respect to your that observation on that one, sea level rise, can you include maybe that activity also that includes in sea level rise?
Yeah, the limitation of our study is that we only identified locations where there are tide gauges because that's where we are confident because we have measurements. And I would like to acknowledge that this project was headed by Dr. Lali Reyes from UP Diliman, and this is funded by the DOST-PAGASA. So from that study, we were able to identify, the rising sea level at Manila Bay. Unfortunately, the tide gauge is located where the land is stable. We only measured 1 millimeters per year land motion. It's because the subsidence that we observe in Manila Bay is not on that site where the tide gauge was located, but on the northern part, like the Kamanaba part, are the one where large subsidence in the land was observed and not on the site where we had the tide gauge location. Kaya hindi po namin na-capture.
Alright. Maraming salamat po doon, Dr. Repolyo. And also for the information of everybody, there's an ongoing discussion between, again, Marine Science Institute and PAGASA DOST on having a project, particularly for physical oceanography. So hopefully, ma-implement po natin yung ongoing scientific collaboration between our groups. We have one more. We can accommodate 2 more. Sir, kayo po muna, sir. Sir, Dr. Servando.
Simple question. One of the manifestations or that of climate change is apart from changes in the physical elements of the marine environment, particularly its characteristic, is the changes in fish catch due to changes in not necessarily due to changes in ocean temperature, but probably changes in circulation due to climate change. Is Marine Science Institute could provide info if indeed there are some changes in this when it comes, like for example in Mindanao, it was reported that the volume of tuna is reduced because of climate change.
Yeah, sir. So I have an ongoing project. So it's my in-house project trying to measure marine heat wave. That's one of temperature stressor in the marine environment. So if you heard about degree heating week, marine heat wave is another type or method of identifying heat stressor. And I want to see on how this marine heat wave is affecting our coral reef, which is the house or the home of the fish, and also on how this marine heat wave affects upwelling areas where our major fishing grounds are. So actually, it's hard to relate, but somehow we want to look, because increasing, climate change will also influence the strength of our wind patterns. And that wind patterns is the generating mechanism of our upwelling, our productive areas. So we're trying to see the link between upwelling and then the reduced catch of our fisheries. And from initial analysis, we saw that there's a decrease in upwelling because of the decrease also in the strength of the wind relating to the climate change. And hopefully we can come up with what about the higher trophic level? Does it has an impact? So we are working on that, sir. It's still ongoing.
Okay, maraming salamat po, sir, ma'am. Okay, I think I see a lot of interest for marine science here. So what we can do is, sana matapos na yung MOA po natin so we can proceed with scientific collaborations. And then the other one, perhaps we can schedule you, ma'am, your lab and then the Marine Science Institute for a brown bag discussion. And I see a lot of interest, especially coming from DOST-PAGASA and from the other agencies as well. We have one more question. Okay, we have one more question from Miss Annalisa
Thank you,
Solis.
Dr. So
Ma'am Ana.
one quick question lang po from sa Climate Change Commission about your core program. So how do you validate or monitor yung climate change expenditure tagging ng national government, ng mga different government agencies? How do you validate or monitor? So for example, may naiiwan ba na, or can we validate that this is part of climate change expenditure program? Or lahat po ba ng government ay na-assess, natatag as climate change expenditure?
Hello po. Usually, ma'am, we have to, in terms na pag-monitor ng climate change expenditure tagging, iba po rin po kasi yung tool na ginagamit for national government agencies tsaka sa local government units. And in fact, for our CCET, we are checking kung how much yung inalat ni local government units, particularly in the climate change adaptation and at the same time climate change mitigations. So that's the purpose po of using that CCET po. And in fact, meron na po yung, I think, joint memorandum circular between DILG, CCC, and DBM, wherein ni-require po ang mga local government units to tag their annual investment plans using the CCET tools po. So, and of course, aside also from the LGUs, the national government agencies also, the GOCCs, at the same time, yung mga state universities and colleges are also required to tag their respective mga annual investment plans po nila, ma'am. So, makikita po dun sa mismong CCET analysis tool po, ma'am, kung how much po yung inalat ng mga agencies na yon on climate change adaptation and mitigation. So, ano-ano po yung mga programs and activities ang nakakontribute po sa pag-address po ng climate change adaptation at the same time for the mitigation po. So, ayun po yung tinatrack po nun ng... Yes po. Yes po, CCCC. And in fact, for the local government units, is yung mga CCCT tag po ng mga AIPs is one also of the assessment criteria for the seal of good local governance of the DLG. At the same time, for the Gawad Kalasag of the OCD. So they are also required to submit the accomplished CCET tools to the Climate Change Commission for the issuance of certification po. So ayun po. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you. In the interest of time, I think we need to cut the question and answer forum. But we have one more announcement coming from the Secretariat. There's a survey being circulated by the UP Marine Science Institute for the Professional Masters in Operational Oceanography. So if you are interested, yes, please buksan niyo po yung QR code para po dun sa kanilang survey. And I think I have to turn over now the floor to our Masters of Ceremony. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much po. Once again, for those interested to take ito pong Professionals Masters in Operational Oceanography, just scan this QR code and magsasagot po kayo ng feedback and interest survey form. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Pwede lang po mag-plug ng aming Professional Masters. So, the Professional Masters in Operational Oceanography is an accelerated program. Matatapos po ito in 1.5 years. And this is designed for government employees working on ocean. So, like PAGASA, NAMRIA, Philippine Navy, Philippine Coast Guard, to capacitate po our national government agencies. So, hopefully po matulungan niyo kami for the survey so that we can push through with the offering of this graduate program at UP. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Dr. Repolyo, for this information. In fact, there is an instruction from our secretary to enhance the oceanography component in our services. So this is actually welcome to us, and we will look into this opportunity for some of our technical staff. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much po, Doc. Before we proceed po sa ating next part ng ating program, Mr. Ben Churchill left us a message po, and let us first read the message. So from Mr. Ben Churchill, dear participants, thank you for the opportunity to join you at the Scientific Forum today. It is a great initiative, and I thank PAGASA for organizing the event and to the experts for their excellent and informative presentations so far. I have to leave. Okay, so happy World Meteorological Day from Ben Churchill, Director of the WMO RAP Office. Okay, so I'd like to turn
So we are almost at the end of our program. But before that, let me thank again our speakers and also our attendees here at the venue and online for sharing your valuable time with us. So to facilitate the awarding of the certificates of appreciation for our resource speakers, may we call on the officer in charge of the Climatology and Agri-Meteorology Division of the DOST-PAGASA, Ms. Ana Liza S. Solis.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So nagpapasalamat po kami for all our partners, our stakeholders. So I think may mga nakita-kita po tayo nag-reunion ngayon, especially yung sila sa Salinas and sa good to see you here, Apo. So we would like to thank all the speakers for this scientific forum in conjunction with the celebration of the World Meteorological Day and National Met Day. So thank you for cooperating and joining with us in this celebration. And allow me to award these certificates of appreciation together with our dear administrators and our heads of the executive staff, Ma'am Telma and Ma'am Sally, Ma'am Arroyo, to give these certificates of appreciation and the tokens as well. And Dr. Bonnie Pawelas po. Sir, may we ask? Okay. So allow me to read the certificates of appreciation to our speakers to be awarded by our dear administrators and deputy administrators. And together with the token, please. Okay. So certificate of appreciation, this certificate is presented to Ms. Rusi G. Abastillas of the DOST-PAGASA in sincere appreciation and grateful recognition of her invaluable and unselfish support by sharing her time as speaker during the conduct of scientific forum in conjunction with the 159th National and 74th World Meteorological Day with the theme At the Frontline of Climate Action. Given this 22nd day of March 2024 at the Amihan Conference Room, PAGASA Central Office, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago Avenue, Barangay Central, Quezon City, Philippines. Ang haba na po ng address ng PAGASA. Opo. Signed, Dr. Nathaniel T. Servando, Administrator PAGASA. Sir. Let's give them a warm applause. Okay. So, dyan ka muna, Ms. Rusi. And also, tokens of appreciation, and tokens also will be given. And this also, certificate of appreciation is also presented to Dr. Marcelino Q. Villafuerte, Assistant Weather Services Chief and Scientist 1, Impact Assessment and Application Section of DOST-PAGASA. So, same citation that we have read. So, thank you very much, Dr. Villafuerte. And also, this certificate is also presented to Mr. Lord Janel Salido of the Climate Change Commission Strategic Partnership Division. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us today. And the next is for Dr. Maria Celia D. Malay, Associate Professor, University of the Philippines Marine Science Institute, as this certificate of appreciation is also presented. Thank you, ma'am. Same citation. Ito na lang, no?
And lastly, but not the least, who's present here physically, Dr. Maria Isabel B. Lanada, Special Assistant to the Secretary, Department of Social Welfare and Development. This certificate is presented to her as an appreciation. Thank you very much, ma'am. And also, we have here the certificate of appreciation also to be given to our partners in RHYMES, Mr. Mitesh Y. Sawant. So thank you very much, Mr. Sawant. Are you still online, sir?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So maybe we could flash his certificate of appreciation. So thank you very much. And also tokens of appreciation will be also given to our dear speakers. So kindly, kindly please come again in front and for the photo documentation as well. Yeah. And yung tokens po. Thank you. Apo. And then together na po yung lahat ng mga resource speakers natin. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion. And also to our speakers online, Mr. Brent Churchill of the WMO as well as Mr. Sawant Mitesh from RHYMES, Southeast Asia. Thank you. Thank you very much po. Salamat po. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much po for our resource speakers. And to formally end our program and to give us the closing remarks, let us all welcome Ms. Telma A. Cinco, the officer in charge of the Office of the Deputy Administrator for Research and Development. Sir? Go ahead, sir. Would you like to say something?
Pwede mag-request ng mga copy ng PowerPoint.
Yes po, sir. We'll provide a copy
Will
of
it be provided by email or pupunta pa kami sa inyo?
Email na lang po siguro,
Email
sir.
po.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oo, it's very, very good kasi maganda pong balikan yung mga PowerPoint. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, sir. Thank you po.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerem. So we are now about to close. So ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today with immense gratitude and appreciation for the successful conduct of our scientific forum on climate action during the celebration of our 159th National and 74th World Meteorological Day. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all the executives of PAGASA, headed by Dr. Nathaniel Servando, and our management group for operation, Dr. Paweles, and for admin, Ms. Cel Arroyo, and also members of the executive present here. Our distinguished guests who have graced this event with the presence both from face-to-face. It's great to see our partners for quite some time. After the pandemic, I think it's first time that we see again our partners such as Salinas, Aldis, DOEDS, and so on. And also to those who are online, I would like to acknowledge also Professor Celeste Saulo, Secretary General of WMO, Mr. Ben Churchill, Director of Regional Office for Asia and Southwest Pacific, and Dr. Renato Silidum, our Secretary at DOST, for their unwavering support towards PAGASA's mission. I also want to extend our heartfelt thanks to our resource persons today in sharing their invaluable expertise, Ms. Rusi and Dr. Marcelino of PAGASA, Dr. Leonardo of DSWD, Mr. Salido of CCC, and of course, Dr. Malay of UPMSI, and online, Mr. Mites of RHYMES. Thank you, and we have learned a lot from you. The theme of our
forum today is focused on climate action or in SDG 13. It reflects the pressing need for a collective efforts in addressing climate challenges, both climate variability as well as climate change. I commend all of you, all participants, your active participation, and of course, our resource person for highlighting and sharing the use of climate information in the different sectors. Thank you for sharing that scientific contribution, your innovative ideas and commitment to advance climate resilience and sustainability. Let us harness our collective expertise, such as doing research together with PAGASA by developing cutting-edge scientific research that can be integrated into operational functions of PAGASA. And through collaboration of the different stakeholders, not only from the public, but as well as from the private, such as the SALT, as well as you have shared earlier, we could increase our capabilities as well as deliver accurate forecasts and provide essential climate services that is actionable and reach the last mile to build a safer and resilient Filipino communities. And in closing, I would want to thank each and everyone, both face-to-face as well as those online. But I want to extend my thanks to the chair of this conduct of the scientific forum, Ms. Annalisa, headed by Ms. Annalisa Solis, who is the head of OIC of the Climatology and Agrometeorology Division, and of course, all of the members of the Secretariat who work silently. I thank you for all the passion and dedication for having this scientific forum a success. Before I end, let us remember that knowledge is power, and by working together, staying informed, we can build a more resilient and sustainable future for future generations to come. Together, let us continue to innovate, collaborate, and inspire positive change from science to action in building safer Filipino communities against the impacts of climate change. Again, magandang umaga at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Telma, for giving us the closing remarks. Before we leave the venue po, may we have a quick photo op po dun sa likod? Para lang po magkaroon tayo ng group photo ng lahat ng participants.